Hello again, Scott here from SocialNRG Presents, and thank you so much for joining us. In this episode, we sit with Nick Gilder, a well-known singer-songwriter who first came to prominence as the frontman for the 70s glam band Sweeny Todd. Nick is perhaps most noted for the band's #1 hit, Roxy Roller, which held the top spot on the Canadian music charts for 3 weeks in 1976, and went on to win a Juno Award for Best-Selling Single in 1977. Nick later went on to have a successful solo career, culminating in the hit Hot Child in the City, which went #1 in both Canada and the US and earned him 2 Juno Awards as well as a People's Choice Award in the US. Nick has also successfully written songs for such artists as Bette Midler, Joe Cocker, and Pat Benetar, and he appeared multiple times on the popular music show American Bandstand with Dick Clark. And today, Nick joins us from his home in beautiful British Columbia to talk about his exciting career and bring us up to speed on what he's working on next. So sit back, relax, and get ready as SocialNRG now presents you with your Backstage Pass.
What's really cool about this, Nick, is that I've never really properly met you. We've sort of been in the same vicinity. I saw you do a show at the Commodore a while ago, and that was years after. For some reason, I recall me and you talking on the phone a lot back when you were forming your band. I think you were asking me for players or something because you know I was playing with Randy Bachman. Okay. Yeah, and I think we sort of lived in the same area of the suburbs of Vancouver, and I think you were calling me just to see if I happened to know anybody, or you were. I remember that because we talked a fair amount, but we never actually met.
I think I saw you play with Randy.
Oh, is that right?
Maybe a couple of times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, years ago. I was just amazed at how great the band was.
Oh, thanks.
And the thing that amazes me the most about that effort is just the relentless hits.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. It's like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you know every single song.
I know.
I think, wow, what must that be like? You know, I've had some successful radio songs, but man, 2 hours worth of every song. That's just incredible, you know?
Yeah.
You must really enjoy that gig.
Well, I've seen Paul McCartney twice, and both times he only kept about 5 songs. There was only about 5 songs in the set list that were the same, you know.
Oh, really?
And he does 3-hour shows. He's got so much material; it's ridiculous.
He's great. You're obviously a big Beatles fan.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
That was
you too.
That was my first entree, the Beatles and the Stones, and then it was Led Zeppelin. You know, that was my pivotal moment, was hearing Led Zeppelin for the first time on a jukebox on an Air Force base in England.
Wow. Can I interject, Charles? Are we getting a good signal all around? All of us?
Mostly. I get a little bit of an interruption in you occasionally and a little bit in Nick, but I'd say it's 90%.
Okay, good. Let's just keep going then. Yeah, because I'm glad you mentioned England because you were born there.
Yes, I was.
And when did you move to Canada? Well, how old were you?
Oh, I was just a kid. I guess it all started with my dad seeing my mom step off a double-decker bus in London. And here I am, you know, that's how it all started. No. And then she was blonde and good looking, and I'm the result. And my dad joined the Canadian Army, which is interestingly the same story, I think, as Bryan Adams. Curiously,
very similar, because Bryan was an Army baby too.
Really? Okay. And my dad was stationed just outside of Barrie, Ontario.
Oh, yeah. Know it well.
And he didn't stay in the Army that long. And we lived in Barrie for a number of years and returned to Britain when I was a teenager. And I met my ex-wife. And interestingly, she knew somebody that had a band. And they were looking for a singer, and I sang once, I think, in England at like a pub. And then when I got to Vancouver, I got into a Battle of the Bands thing. I don't know if you guys remember that. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
Battle of the Bands?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
And my guitar player or my buddy, I should say, who became my co-writer, Jimmy, said, would you like to come and, try out for our band? We got real gigs. And I said, okay. And I got up at a place in Port Moody called the Grotto, which was like my first real public appearance.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't know if you were nervous. Were you nervous the first time you ever played?
Oh, well, it's funny. Yeah. And I don't really get nervous anymore. Are you like this before you get on stage? You're not necessarily nervous, but you just want to go. You feel like a boxer going into the ring. It's like, you're not really nervous. You just get antsy. You want to go.
Yeah. I keep remembering that night and sitting in that chair and being absolutely petrified and thinking, if I could do this, I'll be conquering some great fear. And I did it. And now it's like, I just can't wait to get out on stage, and sing these songs for people. It's just the greatest feeling, It's wonderful to be able to do it,
Okay, so I just want to get a bit of a timeline. So you moved to Barrie, then your family moved back to England.
Yeah.
And you were there for how many more years?
A few.
Yeah, because you said you heard Led Zeppelin in England for the first time when you were a teenager.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Wow, what a moment that was. I got up out of my chair, I remember, and walked over to the jukebox at Lakenheath Air Base and thought, wow, what is that? And I thought the first chance I get, I'm going to, get involved somehow. It really affected me that much, when the opportunity arose, I took it. So
the first album I heard was actually the Led Zeppelin 2. The first album I heard was the Led Zeppelin 2 album. Because I remember I went to this guy's house. He played guitar. He was a bit of a guitar player, and he said, "I got this album. You got to hear it." And his family had one of those old console stereos, the big.
Oh yeah. My dad had one of those.
Yeah, and he puts Whole Lot of Love, and that was the first time I'd ever heard a stereo. So he's playing Whole Lot of Love, and that want a whole lot of love, and it went from one speaker to the other one. What's that? I'd never heard music travel like that before. I'd only heard it come out of the center, and it freaked me right out.
Oh yeah, Robert's voice and the sound of the guitars. It was just so visceral. It was just, that's the right word, I think. Physical and visceral.
Yeah.
And it really grabbed me. Jeez, I just became a fanatic after that, for rock music. So was Led Zeppelin a real big influence on you and your writing, I think it was for both of us, both Jimmy and I. We both were very influenced by that initially, and when we started to put what became the band, the first band was called Rasputin. Yeah,
I've got a picture of that actually.
And bands evolve, as you know, and the configuration that wound up in the studio was a little different than the Rasputin band. I actually replaced Ron Tabak in Rasputin, it turns out. I didn't find out until a couple of years ago. I didn't even
Is that
know.
right?
I didn't even know. No, I didn't know.
So that was well before he joined Stanley's Screamer, and and of course much before Prism.
Actually, it was just before Prism, I think. Actually, he
is
went
that right?
over to Prism shortly after. Yeah, and wow, what a great singer!
Well, I remember playing in the prairies, traveling across the prairies with my band Shama, and if we were in Calgary, and there was an area, if you were driving between Calgary and Saskatoon, where you could pick up Seafun, AM in Vancouver.
Uh-huh.
And that's where the first time I heard Roxy Roller. And the whole band was like, what is this? It was just such an undeniable hit. I've read a couple of things where you said that song came fairly quickly. Can you explain that story a bit?
Wow. We had a rehearsal space over in New Westminster on 8th Street. And we were a cover band, Sweeny Todd, right? We were a cover band, and we'd gone through, what are we going to do to get people's attention? We dressed as with top hats and tails, and And then we put on makeup and stuff as well, just anything to get attention, you know.
Right.
And then it was like, well, we should try to sneak in a song. I'm trying to remember the first place we ever played it, but we, you know, sneak in one of our own songs. So, you know, it was like, well, we better write one then. And so Jim started playing the riff for Roxy, and I started singing the melody, you know, just making stuff up on the spot kind of thing. And I went home and wrote the lyrics very quickly, actually. And we snuck it into the set. And before you know it, man, it was like people were literally asking us to play the song in our set, you know, so it was like, wow, we better do some more of this. But it was the first song I ever wrote. It wasn't Jimmy's.
Is that right?
It was my first song, you know. And wow, that's a hard act to follow when you think about it. But yeah, it became the song of the evening, I think, ultimately. At that time, really, the song of the evening was Smoke in the Water.
Right.
It was everybody's song if you were in a top 40 band at that time. You know, it was like Smoke on the Water.
Yeah, that was the undeniable hit.
Yeah, oh boy. So Roxy, of course, catapulted.
I'm really
you know, hit zone.
I'm really sorry. We're getting a delay, so I'm cutting you off, and I don't know why I'm getting a delay. Do you mind if I just take a moment? I can. Yeah. Okay. I got to ask you a question. So, like, where did you get the title from? Was it like a play on rock and roller, or was it like? Do you have any idea, or did it just sort of come to you? Like,
it really did just come to me. Like it's. I often wonder about that. Where do songs come from? You know, like I just. Singing a song, and it was just, ooh, Roxy Roller. You know, I mean, it was just like, there it was.
Yeah. Because
honestly, it was really a product of the environment. It was like a lot of beautiful young girls were following the band around. And I said, you know, we need something that sort of feels like that sense of urgency that young people have.
Right.
Something really physical, very kind of sexy feeling, you know?
Yeah.
And boy, did it work.
Yeah. Well, it was just an amazing song. It was just an incredible tune. And Jim's
fun, man.
Jim's left-handed, right? He used to play an upside-down Les Paul, I think.
Yes, he did. Yeah, and an SG actually as well, because it's double cutaway. So
right.
he can flip it over and play it upside down.
Yeah.
We played the SG a lot.
Yeah, well, I saw him playing the SG on Hot Child in the City on Midnight Special.
Did he play the SG? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the SG, yeah.
Yeah, that was another quick song.
Yeah, Hot Child in the City. I mean, you eclipsed yourself. I mean, how do you follow up Roxy Roller? Well, with an even bigger, like that's the thing about Hot Child in the City. It took so long to become number one. It must have gotten gazillions of airplays leading up to number one. It's better to take a long time than it is to rush up and rush down, right?
Up until recently, it was the song that took the longest to get to number one.
Wow.
Literally. Which was great for airplay, and you know it's still on the radio. I'm happy.
Oh yeah,
it's wonderful,
and it's such a stripped down, wonderful song. It just like it's. I was listening to you guys do it on the Midnight Special, and it's like the song didn't even need overdubs. There might have been one. I mean, it was like almost a live off the floor song.
Well, that was actually something of interest when it came to producing it. You know, I mean, I listened to it a gazillion times. I listened to it with the headphones, you know, and I phoned up Mike, who had produced the track, and I said, Mike, you know, this sounds exactly.
Who's that? Mike Chapman?
Mike Chapman, yeah.
Wow.
Chapman, yeah. Done, you know, Sweet, Blonde.
Oh yeah.
No, he hadn't done Blonde.
He was hot in those days, boy. He was producing a lot of big acts.
He owned the charts in Britain practically.
Yeah.
Literally. And had moved to LA, and he came down and we did 3 songs, and Hot Child in the City was one of them, you know. So I phoned him up after we'd done the song, and I said, Mike, you know, it sounds exactly like we do it live, like there's nothing different about the way it's performed. I said, it sounds so kind of empty. And he said, well, that's what really works. It's going to sound phenomenal on the radio. And
Wow.
it did. It really worked.
Yeah.
Wow, it really worked.
Yeah, it wasn't until I studied the Midnight Special that I went, it's like everything has its place in that song. You know, like you got like a Fender Rhodes, you got the drums, the bass, and Jim's guitar.
Yeah.
And the way the guitar comes in and out, it's like it's a live track essentially.
That was Jim's forte. Really was. Yeah. You know, like I got together with Jim and I said, I got this kind of bass riff idea, which was dun 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 dun. Right. And he picked it up and ran with it, and it became Hot Child in the City like very quickly. And I sat down and I thought, well, what have I seen? You know, downtown Hollywood Boulevard, that scene, and I wrote the lyrics out really quite quickly. You know, The Warrior wasn't like that. The Warrior took longer. Yeah, that was the Patti Smythe Scandal song, correct? Yeah. And that was a big hit too. And that was about what was that about? Was that about 2 or 3 years after Hot Child in the City? That was in '84. Okay, so about 5 or 6 years later. Yeah. It got me a record deal, which was pretty cool. And was that through Chrysalis? Yeah, Mike Chapman produced that as well, right? And no, it was on RCA. I got a deal with RCA. Oh, okay. No, Hot Child was on Chrysalis. Hot Child was on Chrysalis, yeah. Yeah. I was trying to sort it out in my brain here. So yeah, Jim and I moved down to LA and we made a record as soon as we got there almost. We put together a really kind of bizarre collection of tunes. It was way too different, really, for what we were doing. The songwriting was okay, you know, it was good, but it was like it went plywood in Surrey. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so Terry Ellis, the president of the Chrysalis Record Company, called us in and he said, Nick, I want you to do what you guys did in Vancouver. He said, put a band together and go out and play, you know. And he's quite a character, Terry, actually. You know, the label started with Jethro Tull. So, you know, there was definitely a similarity between those two guys somehow. Chrysalis was a combination of their names, right? Like Ellis was a... Yeah. Chris Wright and Terry Ellis. Right. So Chris Ellis. Chrysalis. Yeah, Chrysalis. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. And, you know, like Billy Idol, who was in a band called Generation X at that time on the label, and then he went solo. And right around the same time, actually, as Hot Child was happening, they signed Pat Benetar. And she recorded one of the songs off the album my first album there, that didn't do so good, Rated X. And she had a bit of a hit with it here in Canada, which was cool. And then they signed Blondie, you know, and all the rest of the talent on the label. Yeah. But it was a really interesting time getting together with Holly and writing The Warrior, you know, years later was amazing. I wondered what was going to happen, you know, like I kind of hopscotched around label hunting. We should have never left Chrysalis. That was the biggest sort of error in my career. Now, was Chrysalis the label that Sweeny Todd was on as well? No. They bought that album, but Jim and I just came down as the band was sort of splitting up. Yeah, can we go over that? Can we go over that? Because I'm trying to figure out, because it seemed like Roxy Roller was a big hit, and it wasn't very long after you and Jim split for LA. What happened to Sweeny Todd? There was, you know, it's really weird. I'm still like good friends with all the guys individually in the band, right? Right. And actually they were in the new band. They've all been in that band individually. But for some reason, and I'm not sure why, you know, it just was, there was, you know, bands break up, right? It was falling apart as it was starting to happen, which was kind of weird. And they even, like, after Jim and I left, you know, they had Bryan Adams in the band, you know, and they made really quite a good rock record there, I thought. But it just didn't happen, you know, for whatever reasons. And it fell apart as well, unfortunately. So I put the band kind of back together with, I think, initially John. Oh, actually, no, Bud. I think Bud.
Bud Bremner.
No, Bud Marr.
Bud Marr, right. Bud Bremner's the engineer, right.
And
sorry.
The guys wouldn't play together again, unfortunately. I tried many, many times. Then after Bud left, again, John came in the band. That was weird. You know?
Now, is that John Booth?
John Booth, yeah.
Yeah.
And we went
and he was the drummer, correct?
He was the drummer, yeah.
And Bud was the bass player.
And Bud was the bass player, yeah. And we did another few years. That was like after 2004, I think it was.
Wow.
And, you know, we did that for a while, and it drifted off, you know. But over the years, you know, the thing built enough that it was like possible to do a lot more. And that was always the problem, you know, was like making sure there was enough to do. Yeah, because there's a season, really, right? There's a season, and that's basically it, you know, in Canada. Like, trying to get, it's been a struggle to get back down into the States, to be honest with you. There's so much paperwork, man.
Yeah, it's not easy these days.
There's no reciprocity there, hardly. You know, like,
well, me and you both remember that.
It's easy for American bands to come up to Canada, but boy, is it ever hard to get down into the States.
Well, me and you both remember that
there. Basically. Yeah, really. You know, I'm not kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost have to live there to make it happen. You know,
my work. Whenever I play down in the States with any of my personal acts, I have to get a P2, which takes me about 4 months to get, three to 4 months to get, and a lot of money. It's like $1,000 up front, and they could turn you down, and you could lose that $1,000. They could just, if they decide you're not coming, and you don't get the $1,000 back. But with Randy, we've got a thing called an O2, where he's got some. I forget what his landed status is in the States, but we come in under his status on an O2. So I never have to do paperwork when I work down there with Randy.
Right, but if you're trying to organize a whole band and a road crew, it starts to get very involved, you know. So then it was you
and I both remember playing the Breakers in Point Roberts. Remember that? There was a gig in Point Roberts, just it was a little peninsula in the United States, just south of Vancouver. Yeah, and it was the only place open on Sunday. That's right. I remember you would go to the Musicians Union, you'd pick up your paperwork on Friday. Yep. You'd go play there on Sunday, and as you're going back across the border, you hand your paperwork back in. That was it. That's all it took to play the States back in those days.
Yeah, really. You show them your driver's license. That was all.
I know, it's insane.
Pitcher of beer was like a couple of bucks.
Yeah, I know.
And the Breakers rocked, man.
Yeah,
I remember that. That was a good fun time.
Yeah,
it was all afternoon, I think, and into
it was
night. You know, it's like.
A lot of bands played there. I mean, Randy Bachman played there with BTO in the early days, and I think even Brave Belt before they became BTO.
Yeah, we eventually were playing until like 2 o'clock in the morning there. I think, or 3 o'clock in the morning. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
but
no, but I gotta go back. I gotta go back to Sweeny Todd before we go on too much, because so Sweeny Todd, so Roxy Roller becomes this huge hit. Now, it was a huge hit in Canada. Was it a hit in the United States right away too, or was that later?
You know, right as Roxy was happening, Susie Quattro did a cover. Jim and I had split. We were down in Los Angeles, and this is another. Wow, if you could turn back time kind of a situation. They were playing it in Cleveland and Detroit, and it had gone to #1 with airplay. So Chrysalis calls me up and says, you know, we want to release this song now. And they did, but they released it as Nick Gilder.
Oh.
This caused huge confusion. at radio. And, you know, in reflection, if they just let it go, as Sweeny Todd, you know, because then it was the same song, it really was the same record exactly, because they bought it. Mm-hmm. It would have happened you know, and spread at radio if they just let it go as Sweeny Todd, but they wouldn't do that. I don't know. Did they buy
it out to be able to offer it as Nick Gilder as opposed to Sweeny Todd? They bought out the whole thing, and they now owned that song, the licensing.
Yes, they did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, the exposure that it's had in America has been over the years kind of significant. Rodney Bingenheimer in LA would play it continually. It wound up on the Runaways movie biopic as the opening track, you know, and it does get play in the States, like everybody knows it. I recently did a quarantine video with
I saw that.
Curry.
Yeah, it was Sherry Curry and Susie Quattro and you singing Roxy Roller.
Yeah, that was really cool. You know, Susie did a fine version of it and got Play in Britain with it. But again, you know, it was this thing at radio, all these records at the same time claiming to be the original. You know, that was
how did Susie Quattro in England get a hold of Roxy Roller at the same time that you released it in Canada?
I know. Good news travels fast, Nick.
I guess so.
It really does.
Did somebody sent it to her? What?
Well, you know, Mike Chapman probably knew Mickey most, who I'm pretty sure was the guy who produced the song for Susie.
Okay, but Roxy Roller wasn't produced by Mike Chapman. That was produced by Martin Shear, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he was in the loop at Chrysalis. He was a good friend of Terry Ellis's. And so it's all kind of.
So this is a rollover, yeah, because it's a really confusing sort of rollover over that song because it's released with Sweeny Todd. Now you've gone from what label were you on with Sweeny Todd? Was it
London Records?
London. So your London Records. Chrysalis buys out your London licensing for probably that song in your catalog, I suppose, and then at the same time, as it's being released under the name Nick Gilder now instead of Sweeny Todd, somehow Susie Quattro gets a copy of it and she releases it in England under her name.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a wonderful thing for a songwriter, but boy, as a fan, it sure is confusing.
Yeah, it was confusing, but it was sure fun. It was sure fun in Canada, you know, what would happen. Like you said, you know, on CKLG here in Vancouver, it was #1 request, literally every single night for at least one summer.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember the DJ saying, you know, and again, the #1 song tonight, Roxy Roller requests.
Yeah. There, you know, I wish I kept a tally. I got the feeling I've sang your song more than you have.
Oh, wow. We closed the set with it, you know. We closed the set with it. It's just
I've sang that song in almost every night, probably almost every night since about 1977 when it came out, or no, it was 78 when it came out, wasn't it?
Really? 75 actually, I think. 75.
Oh no, it had to be after that because I remember the first time I heard it and I didn't start
5 or 6. It had to be.
Really? Oh, maybe 6.
I was down in LA by late 76 or 7.
Really? Huh?
Yeah. So it had to be around 75, early 76.
I know. You know what? Our friend Charles, he's the master. He'll figure it out.
Oh, I got it, man. Roxy Roller hit #1.
Charles is Mr. Research.
No, I like to do research on the fly. So Roxy Roller hit #1 in Canada's RPM top singles chart in 76.
76.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Does it say what month?
It doesn't, but I'll do a little more digging.
It had to be towards the end of the year.
I don't know. I think because it was I remember it in the summer.
Looks like July 3rd
there you go.
From the reference that's on here.
Wow, there you go. Wow. Well, I'm way off. For some reason, I thought it was like later, like 77, 78. I don't know why I thought that.
Actually, Mick, you're going to like this. I actually have the chart. Do you want to see it real quick?
RPM chart?
Yeah, I do. Actually.
That'd be interesting. Let's see it.
I've got that as well. So upstairs on the.
So here it is.
Yep,
Here's
that's
Roxy
it. Yeah, I've
Roller.
got that one. Yeah.
Well, and the next one is more.
Yeah,
Remember that one?
totally.
Wow.
And Never Gonna Fall in Love Again. Those are the days of the charts when you just had so many different styles, taking it to the streets.
Sneaky Blue.
Totally.
Shop around. Get up and
So-
boogie.
Silly
Take it
love
to the
songs.
streets. Wow.
Afternoon
Great stuff.
Delight.
Yeah.
Oh, cool tune.
Yeah. Great harmony.
Oh, good times, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
Really. Good.
Okay, so now you and Jim have moved down to LA, and you've been picked up by Chrysalis Records, and you're doing some songwriting down there, and you're doing some demoing and stuff, but it's just not getting the magic. So Chrysalis puts you out in the street and says, back to playing in the bars like you did in Canada, and let's see some stuff.
Yeah. The first show.
And out of that comes Hot Child in the City. Is that correct?
Yeah. The first show that we did was at Doug Weston's Troubadour. And then we moved up to the Starwood and the Whiskey. And then we started playing the universities and we built a following pretty quick. It really worked. And Rodney Bingenheimer, who's a fairly popular and well-known DJ in LA, would come down every time we did a show and introduce the band. And would play the records, he played Roxy continually. And then when Hot Child came out, it just spread like wildfire, man. It was unbelievable how quick that took off.
And that band was always under your name.
Yeah, it was a Nick Gilder band with Jim.
Right. Okay.
That band stayed together for a few years, we made some records and it was good fun while it lasted,
I have to ask you, what was it like doing the Midnight Special? What was the experience like? How did the day begin? How did the taping happen? All that stuff. I'd like to know that. Do you mind talking about it?
I think we were on with Hall & Oates and David Bowie, I think was on that show. And like Frankie Valli. It was a really good show. I think I remember thinking, wow, we better do a good job of this because it was live. It really was live. Like we performed the song live. There was no lip syncing.
Really?
Yeah.
So you guys are actually playing the song live?
That's actually live, what you're listening
That sounds so good.
It sounds frighteningly like the record, which I think back and I think, wow, my voice has changed. Like everyone's does. I can still hit the notes, but they sound different,
Yeah, it's your voice gets thicker as you get older. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it gets thicker. Yeah, which is a good thing, I guess.
Well, that's what Daryl Hall says. He says he likes his voice better now because it's thicker. He says, I have the voice now that I wish I had back in the 70s.
Yeah. Do you like the Greta Van Fleet?
Oh, yeah.
I wonder
Absolutely.
what's going to happen with his voice in a few years, guys. And the Struts, oh my gosh, these are great new rock and roll bands. They're just terrific.
Yeah, Greta Van Fleet, that's, they're always touted as being like the new Led Zeppelin. They obviously modeled themselves after Led Zeppelin. They try to deny it. The new song that starts with the organ just sounds like,
you've heard it. Isn't that great?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's great. But it's obviously, it's definitely an homage to Led Zeppelin still. It just is.
I'm hearing much more originality in that one, to me, anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think both those bands really remind me of what we were doing in Sweeny Todd when we first got started. I'm serious. That was it. Like, it was all the same influences.
Yeah.
They got the same buzz going, for music. And it's very exciting. It was a very exciting time in music, as you know. We're constantly thinking about it and trying to reinvent it or restate it. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I gotta get back to Midnight Special though. When you're doing Midnight Special, I noticed it was like set up like a concert footage. There's kids in the front, they're clapping along with the song and all that sort of stuff. Now, you say you're on the show with Bowie and Hall & Oates and stuff. Now, did you meet them? Did you play with them, or are they taping at a different time? Or
it was John Oates introduced us.
Okay.
And we were each in our own green room, and they just wanted us to wait there. So no, there was no real time to sort of talk to one another. We just, it was very much an efficient situation of just like next act, So
how many stages?
We did it a couple of times.
How many stages did they have in the room?
Interesting. Maybe 2.
So one stage
while they were using the other one, I think is the way it worked.
Okay.
If I remember rightly. The Don Kirshner's rock concert, that was just the one stage, and there was a crowd up front. And we did a couple songs. That was off the Frequency record, which was the follow-up to City Nights. And we did a couple songs, and the guy who was looking after the show, what do you call that? The production manager or something?
Sure.
He went, do another one. We did 6 or 7 songs. I was like, really? It was like, wow. He liked it. We had Pete Coleman, who was the producer engineer of the record, come down, and he mixed it for us, right there. And it sounded just like the record again,
Great.
Wow.
That's excellent. Well,
that was really cool.
Well, that was the thing about Don Kirshner's rock concert as opposed to Midnight Special, is Don Kirshner's rock concert really was a concert on your TV.
Oh, yeah.
Probably one of the first ones ever.
Live. That was live. Wow. Jimmy played, he had one of these, first guitar synths.
Right.
And when we were recording this part for one of the songs that we wound up doing live, on the spur of the moment, in the studio, this thing would glitch, early days guitar synths, and it had a really neat sound, but it would glitch. It didn't glitch once on the show. It just worked, I was like, wow, I can't believe that.
Yeah, cool. Lucky. Now, well, Jimmy, I had the opportunity to talk to Jimmy back about, I think about 4 years ago or something. There was a girl in my studio that was recording a song that he had written. And
indeed.
Yeah, so he was, and I wasn't producing it, I was engineering it. They were just happened to be recording it in my studio. And so we went back and forth on that. But yeah, he's still active. I guess he lives in the interior of British Columbia.
He lives up near Okanagan. And we still, we have done all these years. We haven't done a lot of collaborating, curiously. But he's been trying to do his own thing. And boy, it's tough, to get your foot in the door, so to speak, right? And the years go by. I wish he'd come and play in the band, but he's entrenched up there in the interior, and I still hold out hope. We did a show up in the area some years back, and I called him up and I said, Jim, come on, at least come on, get up on stage and play Roxy and Hot Child with us, man. Come on. And he did. And it was magic, man. I got to tell you, it was just freaking awesome to have Jim on stage again. And he really enjoyed it, but he still just he didn't want to do it anymore. He wanted to do something different with his musical career. So
yeah. Well, you love getting on stage and he doesn't, I guess. That does happen. Some people they change their minds, I guess.
He never really ever sort of felt, I don't think, like totally as comfortable. Some people do, some people don't. I guess Jim didn't, I guess, is what it is, we had some, back in the days when we used to wear makeup on stage, like, I think Jim used it as something to hide behind, you know what I mean?
Right.
And which is fun. You become a character like David Bowie, had these multitude of characters that he did. And I think that's what we were doing in a way. And I remember one night coming home, and we were really tired, like you'd work in the nightclubs in those days from 9:30, 10 o'clock till 2 o'clock in the morning, so then you'd sit around and maybe have a drink and talk for a while, and you're wide awake, and it's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So we left our makeup on because we were just tired, and we're driving home. We're driving home, and a policeman pulls us over, I guess Jim. And he pulls us over and he shines the light into the front of the car, and his eyes were just like, whoa. Oh man, I'll never forget the expression on his face. He said, "Well, you guys better get going." Slow down, he said. You better get going.
Well, what's he going to do? Ask the CID?
Yeah. Oh man, crazy days.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I've often thought that. Kiss with their makeup. Really, even now,
Kiss should have left it on.
Well, yeah, but really, Kiss could go on tour right now, and it could be a whole different band. Nobody would know.
Well, yeah,
they could literally franchise it out as long as they got people that look similar stature. Yeah.
Is that really Paul? Is that really Gene?
Yeah.
But I think it is right now, but you're right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know. You probably wouldn't know, right?
No. Even the two latest characters that they have are sort of back when Eric Carr was in the band, they had their own Kiss characters, but now the guys they have in the band have taken over the Peter Criss and Ace Frehley characters.
Oh yeah.
So they're they're actually dressed like Peter Criss and Ace Frehley. They do Gene and somebody do Paul, and they stay at home, collect the money. It's no different than what's going on with Foreigner these days.
Yeah. Did you watch the show from the Middle East?
There's no original members in Foreigner.
No, not at all.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Mick Jones. I think Mick Jones comes out and plays.
The odd time. He comes out and plays when it's important. The band will actually go out and they'll do entire tours without him.
Yeah. Did you watch the show from the Middle East, Mick?
The Foreigner one?
No, the Kiss show. It was on
no, I heard about it. I never had a chance to watch it.
It was New Year's.
Yeah.
It was really great. You can still watch it, I think.
I heard it.
It was amazing.
I heard it went really well.
They sounded just amazing, man. Their sound guy is a magician. It was just really sounded good, dude. Powerful, way more powerful than the records. Sounded like the heaviest metal that you've ever heard. It was really powerful.
I forget what show it was that Paul Stanley did on Broadway. I've mentioned this before talking to somebody, and I saw Paul Stanley on a TV show or something. It was like one of these. He was the star of this Broadway show, and he is a really good singer.
Oh yeah.
Hey
Hello?
Nick,
am I cutting out?
Yeah, you're cutting out big time now. You might want to switch to a different hotspot.
Are you talking about me?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hang tough, guys. I'll be right back.
All right. Sorry, Nick.
It must be the electricity of Nick Gilder.
Well, I remember, Nick, something interesting about Kiss is Paul and I got together and we started a song in the 80s, I think it was. What a nice guy, actually. Really a nice guy.
Yeah.
I got to finish it one of these days. I guess I should finish the song up. It was in between the multitude of things that he does, in any given day or week. So that was cool.
I don't know if you caught the last thing, but I was just surprised at what a great singer that guy is. He really is an incredibly good singer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's got a really strong, powerful voice, huh?
Yeah, and a good range. He gets up there.
He's got a good falsetto too. He can sing falsetto.
Yeah, but so how are you keeping during all this COVID stuff? I'm really busy, but I'm busy doing things that I never would have done before, for the most part. I'm still writing and still recording and all that sort of stuff, but I've also got this going on. What are you doing with yourself these days?
Gosh, some music stuff, organizing, catalog stuff, the stuff that is behind the scenes, so to speak, that, we have to take care of, and a bit of writing, It's hard to collaborate. If you're going to collaborate, it's like, well, I'll send you a music track and you send it back, that sort of thing. Which isn't quite the same thing as getting together with somebody.
That's the only way you can these days, yeah.
But yeah, that's mostly it, really. there's just not much to do, you know, so we do things like these quarantine videos.
Right.
And waiting it out, you know, which we're all doing. It's huge frustration. Watch a lot of YouTube vids of rock shows and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of reminiscing and a lot of dreaming, you know.
Yeah, I mean, coming up March 7th, so not that far away. This is being taped on February 20th, and March 7th, it'll be exactly a year since I played.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's just incredible.
It's a hard road, you know, we'll get through it. I call our agent, you know, I call my agent up and we talk for a long time. And, you know, the only good news is that the shows that were postponed from last year haven't been canceled yet. You know, there's just nothing happening yet.
Yeah.
And it won't until really everyone's, well, you know, I think honestly, in my opinion, we only need about 10 million to 15 million of the population vaccinated, truthfully, to be able to resume normalcy, you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Because
that would be great if that's true.
Well, that's the threatened age group, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's lower and lower risk as your age drops.
Right.
So, yeah, you know, and I guess, you know, who comes to rock concerts is younger people. But that they can be super spreaders. But if the elderly are already vaccinated, then it doesn't really matter.
Hopefully.
Right? Yeah.
Hopefully, you know, all of this is so
conjecture.
It's such an unknown for all of us, you know, and even the experts are fooled.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. But now you had said in your email, you'd emailed me, you said you're going to be writing a book of your memoirs. That's something
I started it years ago.
In the works?
Yeah, I started it years ago, I think. And I think it's where to start and where to finish is the problem, you know, doing it in segments. Have you done one yourself or?
I've much like you. What I've done is I've taken elements of my life and I've written a story about each element. It's a matter of stitching them together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's a different realm of writing, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm going to finish it. I'm going to do it, I think. Yeah.
We had Jeffrey Lee Campbell on our show, and he was Sting's guitarist. And so what he did, his book, he basically, each chapter is basically like it's written almost like a journal, you know, where everything is like, this is what happened here. This is a story behind this. This is a story behind this. So I haven't actually read the book yet. It's just what he's described to me, but it sounds fascinating. I mean, Bob Lefsetz, you subscribe to his letter?
I'm not sure.
Bob Lefsetz's newsletter. Anyway, that's how I became aware of Jeffrey Lee Campbell, is that he's got and Bob Lefsetz said it's a fantastic read. You know, it's just amazing. And of course, it's a guy, you know, he lived in Miami, came up to New York. He basically went from selling candy in a theater because he had no money and within 2 weeks he's on Saturday Night Live playing with Sting and then doing a world tour with Amnesty and all that. You know, it was just an amazing story.
What a great artist Sting is. Did you see the Police reunion tour?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was, you know, I think I've tried to think what was the loudest experience I've ever had. And I you know, long story short, I went with my old manager, Barry Samuels,
right,
to see the Police. And we started up at the back of the arena, and he complained about the tickets because they weren't cheap. So they moved us up closer, and somebody said, "Oh, that's our box," you know. So they said, well, "Okay, we're going to have to move you closer." We wound up, honest to God, 20 feet from the stage.
Wow.
And at the end of one of the songs that they did, it was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. The applause. It was just so deafening, man. It was just, you know, like it would give you tinnitus, you know. It was so loud. Gosh. And I've heard some loud bands.
Yeah, over the years, Barry's never worked for me as an agent. How I met Barry was
Barry?
Oh yeah, very well.
Oh, cool.
We talk all the time. And but how I met Barry was when he got into the investors group and
the syndicate.
Yeah, and he came and he sold me mutual funds after he got out of the music business. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have a house to this day because all the money went towards buying my house.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I know. We're really good. We've gone out for dinner quite a few times and stuff, and he's just such a character. God, what a sense of humor he has.
We still hang out once in a while, and we still talk, and he's on Facebook.
That's, remember I was talking about that song with Jim McCullough.
Yeah.
What happened was that Barry had started work with this other girl and it wasn't working out. So I had done
Drew Arnault.
I don't,
his sister or something, or no?
I don't know. I'm not sure who it was, but I know that wasn't working out. And he said he needed a girl. And he said he needed a girl. And I just done a job in Alberta with this girl who her name was Kelly. And so I said, well, I've got a girl who's a great singer. And, so anyway, so that's what happened. And so she ended up coming into the fold, her and her future husband. They're married now. They came to my studio to do this song, which ended up being written by Jim McCullough.
Wow. I got to ask Jim.
Yeah. So it's small.
I think he mentioned it, actually, and I'd like to hear it. I bet it's good. Yeah. He's very talented.
Yeah.
He really has a great sense.
I haven't heard it for a long time. I've got it on my hard drive somewhere. I could probably send you an MP3 of it somewhere. But
oh, really?
I probably have I must have an MP3 of it. I'm sure we can share it. We don't have to tell anybody, do we?
You do some writing yourself, Mick?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, actually, I've got a song. Actually, you know Mark LaFrance, don't you?
I know the name.
Okay. Well, Mark. Yeah, he's been the drummer. Mark and I have worked together for 35 years. But anyway, we've been writing lately, and we got something coming out. Actually, it was weird because once again, I've got my home studio, so I played every instrument and did backups, and Mark sang it at his house. Okay. And then not only that, then I also did the video for it. So, I was a one-man production team, I'll tell you. But he's got a record company, and it's going to be. I think it's coming out on February 26th. So.
Well, good luck with it, man. All the best.
So a week from now.
We should write something together. Why not?
Oh, I'd love to. That'd be fun.
You'd like to.
Yeah.
To write something together. Maybe we could.
Oh, that sounds good. We'll talk after the interview. Oh, hell, let's talk during the interview. Yeah. So I was going to say, so now you're in LA, Hot Child in the City has become a huge hit. I Am the Warrior. Now, I was going to ask you, I'm the Warrior. Now, who came up with that idea for that song first? Was it your idea and then brought to oh God, I'm sorry. Who'd you write that song with?
Holly Knight.
Holly Knight. I'm sorry. God, I hope she forgives me. Anyway, so now was it her idea and she brought you in, or was it your idea and you brought her in, or how did that work?
I actually had the idea and took it over to Holly. And at that time she lived down at the Marina Del Rey. It was a really nice little place she had there, right on the water. It was a super place. And she had a piano set up. And I said, well, here, I said, I'm going to sing it to you. And I sang her the chorus. And she said, oh, I got something that goes with that. And wow, before you know it, man, we had a tune.
Oh.
So yeah, I took the song over to Holly.
Now, how did you know her?
Really a writer, she's just got a natural musical sense, I knew her through Mike, I think. It might have been Mike Chapman who hooked us up. She had a publishing deal with Michael. And
was he the connection with Patti Smythe and Scandal as well?
Yeah, he was working on that album, and he called me up and he said, Nick, he said, if you let me have this song, because I'd already been to see Roy Thomas Baker, Holly and I had written the song. Everybody that heard it said, that's a smash hit if ever I heard one. It was a good demo. And so I went to see Roy Thomas Baker after knowing that Mike was in the studio working already with Scandal, and me thinking, wow, man, maybe I got myself another hit here. It would have been a game changer, man. So, and it was at a different level, Yeah. So he called up and he said, if you let me have this song, I promise you I'll make it a hit record for Patty. We really desperately need a hit single.
Right.
And, I guess I caved. Said, well, use it. What are you going to do, right? He was Holly's publisher. And he did follow through, and I guess I started thinking, a girl singing it kind of does give it a different sense or something, there was something interesting about hearing a girl sing the song, I thought,
Yeah, well, you know what it relates to? If you remember the song I Will Survive, I Will Survive was written for a guy to sing.
Really? Wow.
Originally it was written for a guy, but if you think of a guy singing I Will Survive, it doesn't have the same sort of cachet or whatever the word would be as a woman singing it,
So, even as far back as Roxy, I've always thought, women, I don't know if they get a fair shake. And that was what was really suggested in So Roxy Joined the Syndicate, knowing it wasn't fair, that in the song, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, the Warrior, hearing a girl sing it, and plus, the other thing was we wrote it in the key of B. But oh man, it really has a different feeling in the key of, I think it's D, right? Mm-hmm. It's up a step and a half. And it's all open chords, in the key of B, you can't play open chords on the guitar.
Right.
They're just not there to play, and it sounds, the D, the G, it's just open and it rings and it's just, wow, it really hits hard. Yeah. And he really did do a good job of it, man. I mean, it's a fantastic record.
Oh, it was a great single. Good
really
Lord.
It's a great record, man. Every time I hear it on the radio, I think, dude, you really did do a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might do it myself yet.
Well, you do it live. I know that.
We do it live.
Yeah.
But she's put her stamp on it. You know what I mean? And she's got her lipstick on it. You know what I mean? She really is a good singer, man. She did a fine job of it.
Yeah. Now, I guess her and Holly Knight, they must know each other quite well as well. They must. I think they're still friends, I think.
Oh, yeah. Holly had already written songs for Heart and Tina Turner,
Wow.
I think she wrote after, Simply the Best was after The Warrior, I think. That was after The Warrior.
And that was a massive hit.
It was probably that and The Warrior, I think, are her two biggest hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like I said, she's good, man. She's a good writer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've had success. I mean, you've had Bette Midler, Joe Cocker, Pat Ben.
Yeah. You cut out there for a minute.
Oh, I just said, I'm sorry. I just said you've had Bette Midler and Joe Cocker, Pat Benetar, Tony Basil.
Yeah. I remember seeing, Terry played me I remember being in Terry's office and he said, did you see this? And it was Bette talking about recording one of my songs, Is It Love?
And Terry who?
Terry Ellis.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he said, did you see this video? And it was Bette talking about recording the album, what was it called? No Frills, I think it was called. And the hit that came from it was a duet with Mick Jagger. But she recorded Is It Love? And she said, I went through 3,000 songs to find this song, Is It Love? And she started her album with it. She really liked it, obviously, right?
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, she's just an amazing talent. She's a really good person too, Bette Midler. You know, she lives in New York, and she's got this program where she cleans up whole sections of the city. It's incredible. You should see it. It's on YouTube. I found it the other day. Yeah, she's got this.
Is this for homeless?
It does. She cleans up whole areas. They go in, her team, and they clean it all up, paint the place, get out all of the, you know, the rubbish and stuff that's strewn around. Yeah, it's really something what she does there. Yeah, good person.
Well, there was an initiative I remember reading about in a book where I think it was called the broken window policy or something to this effect. And they figured that psychologically, with these broken down neighborhoods and neighborhoods of, you know, where there's lots of crime and gangs and lots of bad things going on within the community, that if they made the buildings look better, people would have more pride in their neighborhood and the crime would go down. And sure enough, it worked. So basically, any building that had broken windows, they'd replace all the windows. If somebody broke a window, they'd replace it right away. They'd paint the building so it spruced up the neighborhood. Yeah. And eventually the crime started going downhill because people felt more proud of where they lived.
That's exactly it. Pride in their neighborhood, you know, and she's putting that back into whole sections of New York, which is a wonderful thing to do, really, you know. She's really
and they did the same thing in New York with the subways. The subways used to be covered. Remember the beginning of Welcome Back, Kotter, and you see all those Brooklyn subways just filled with graffiti. Well, you go to New York now; they're not filled with graffiti anymore.
Oh, that's great.
They did it years ago where they'd have they painted all the subway cars. And if a guy would come to start to tag the cars, you know, with their paint and make their little gang signals, they would wait until he was finished. Because it would take them sometimes 3 or 4 days to do these things because it's a lot of work. And as soon as he was done, they'd paint it back to white again. And so these guys just ended up getting frustrated and stopped doing it.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, that's a good.
You know, and it worked. It took some money, but at least now the subway cars don't look like ghetto everywhere. You know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So anyway, there's our sidebar.
Yeah. Joe Cocker did one of my songs.
Which one did he do?
A song called "It's Gonna Hurt." It was kind of a love ballad, and Love Lost, that one, I think, clearly. Would have made a great country song, really. You know, like it's just got that thing about it when I think back about it. And one of our gals at Chrysalis in the publishing department had a connection with Joe, and she got it over to him, Carla Berkowitz, and she got it placed, man. It was great, you know?
Yeah.
And
that must have been an amazing thing. You must have got a leap in your heart with Joe Cocker covering one of your songs.
Man. You know, Rick Boston, my collaborator, and we were just like, wow, man, Joe Cocker. Yeah. Incredible. What a voice. And he did a really good job of it too. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
it was on his comeback record.
Yeah. Well, Joe had a way. I mean, you know, me being a Beatles guy, I mean, his version of Little Help from My Friends is so amazing.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it took it in a whole different, that whole 6/8 feel as opposed to the 4/4 times the Beatles used for Ringo.
Another realm.
Yeah, it took that song to a whole other place, you know? It was brilliant.
Yeah, you're right, man. Yeah, that was just a fantastic cover to get.
We could easily wrap this up.
Okay.
I think we've had a lot of fun already. We've had a lot of information.
Lots of information, yeah.
And now
thanks, guys. Thanks, Charlie,
for coming. Nick,
yeah,
that's such a pleasure to see you.
Absolutely, Nick. Thank you so much for everything, and we'll talk to you soon.
Nick. And let's talk soon about the let's do that on a phone call, shall we?
Yes, absolutely. I will.
You know where I am. And let's do that.
Okay, that'll be fun. Okay,
great.
Okay. I know you have a way to sing there because I saw the video.
Yeah. What you mean, the pandemic video?
That's right. Yeah.
Quarantine video. Yeah. Just you held the cell phone up. Actually, my wife held it while I sang to the track, and it worked. So,
Yeah.
All right, Nick. Thanks so much, man. Thanks.
Take care, Nick. Talk to you soon, buddy.
You guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. Check out our many other episodes and vignettes for more great content. And please like, share, and subscribe, and become a member at SocialNRGPresents.com to access all our content and earn valuable energy points just for watching.